Alright, CBT lesson for Brandon. This is Beginner Guitar Concepts Part 3 video. We are starting on page 6. We have page 6 and 7 to do. Make sure I didn't miss nothing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, we're good. So on this, the 5 minor pentatonic scales. Okay, so we have, I'm using A minor for our key. So pattern 1 is going to start on an A note, which is fret 5 on the low E. And I like to use A minor because for these pentatonics, you get a full use of all 5 patterns without having to backtrack and come this direction, which is a whole other story. Actually, not really, but it'll make more sense this way. They're going to be in order. You probably still remember this one from our lessons on Skype. Look for things that repeat, like patterns. If you're skipping 2 frets or you're skipping 1 fret, you know, through this. Little hint, anything you play on string 6, with all 5 of these patterns, it'll be the same fretting on string 1 because it's the same string, so the notes are the same. They're just octaves apart. Here's the scale that a lot of people end up learning. A lot of people don't know what it's called, and they never realize that there are 4 more of these minor pentatonic scales. And I was one of those guys. For years I soloed through them, but I didn't realize why it worked and all that stuff. So let's get started. Fingering and everything. Try to follow the same fingering on this. I'm going to use distortion because I'm not really worried about clarity. I know I've worked with you enough on Skype. So you really just want to get familiar with these. If we do a part or another series, CBT or something, I could break these down into solos and really get into the meat of it. But you'll have the map out of all of it, you know, right now. So first finger 5E, and our 4th finger is going to do 8 on the low E as well. Also, the start note. We have 2 notes per string. The start note for all of these in pattern 1 is going to be the 5th fret. So how easy is that, you know? You've already got half of it memorized. Although this one, I'm sure you still do remember, like I said. 5-8. Go to the next string, the A, go 5-7 with finger 1-3. And when you're doing this, Brandon, I'd like you to actually be thinking about the muting concepts. I think if you start applying that now, it's going to totally help you when you get into playing bits of solos. So I'm going to the A string and I'm touching underneath the low E. Don't have to do it with both fingers as long as this one's staying down. And do that concept all the way through. 5D, so I'm going to mute underneath the A string. 5-7 there. Go to the G, same thing. I'm muting the D string now. Picking the 7G. 5-8 on the B. I'm muting the G with the tip of my index. And then 5-8 on the high E, I'm muting the B string with the tip of my index. So that's playing it ascending. You always want to find other ways to keep it interesting. Play it ascending and descending, alternate picking, all that good stuff. So that's pattern 1 of the pentatonic scales. This is in the key of A minor. Pattern 2, each scale, when you go to the 2nd pattern, starts off the secondary note of the prior pattern. In other words, that's going to be the start note for pattern 2. I'm using textbook fingering for these, alright? When you get into soloing, make sure you read the footnotes on your tabs. That goes out the window most of the time because when you're soloing, you're not playing usually things mechanically, you know, from root, and you're skipping around, you're bending, you're sliding, and you want a comfortable fingering. But if you're just running the scales, go ahead and use these fingers. 8-10, middle and pinky, and that's on the E. Then 7-10A, 1st and 4th finger. Same thing on the D. 7-9 on the G, 1st and 3rd finger. 8-10 on the B and E, and that's finger 2 and 4. Alright, so remember what I was saying about muting the underneath string when you transition from one string to the next. That's pattern 2. Okay, pattern 3 is based off, remember, the second note of the prior pattern. So that was the second note. So that's going to be our start note for pattern 3. This one, like I said, look for things that repeat. We have 3 strings, actually technically 4, that are 10/12s in pattern 3. So you have 4/6 of it memorized already. The first 3 are in order. Then we go to 9/12 on the G, finger 1/4, 10/13 B, first and fourth, and then 10/12 on the high E, first and third. So you have I'm just strumming an A minor chord. You probably know this one. Alright, so that's pattern 3. Pattern 4 starts off the second note of pattern 3. Their second note of pattern 3 was the 12th fret, so that's our start note. And this is going to go, once again, we're going to look for repetitious shapes. 12/15 on the E and A, first and fourth finger. 12/14 on the D and G, first and third finger. 13/15 on the B, middle and pinky, that's kind of the oddball one. And usually the B string is the odd one because it's tuned in fourths. And then 12/15 E. Remember I said the E's are always the same. Pattern 5. This one's actually pretty simple. It's actually one of the easier ones. And it's moves in chunks of 2, in the sense that we're going 15/17 twice, 14/17 twice, and 15/17 twice. The secondary note of pattern 4 was a G note, which is fret 15. That's our start, but use your middle finger. You'll see why in a second. Second and fourth finger. 15/17, 15/17. Now we're going 14/17, which is why I'm saying don't do this. And we got to shift that over. So just use basically a finger for whatever fret you're over, because these scales are basically 4 fret areas. It's not like you're climbing up. You can with them, but not with these. Not these particular ones we're working on right now. So 14/17 twice on the D and G, first and fourth finger, and then 15/17 on the B and E, second and fourth finger. And if you went any further, say, okay, Mike said I can, each pattern starts off the secondary note of the prior scale. Well, the secondary note is fret 17. So I could start there, but that's the same as this. It's an octave higher. In other words, that's an A, so is this. So we've completed the whole cycle of these 5 minor pentatonic scales. You could play it up here, you'd just be starting over, right? You'd be going. Keep going, pattern 2. You start running out of room though. Oops. And so on, till you run out of room. So there you go with those. Like I said, explore the options. The notations on the bottom of these tabs, these scales are set up with textbook fingerings. However, when you're playing a solo, depending on the riff pattern and strings used, the fingering will often change, and more often than not it does. Okay, so but apply the alternate picking to this, play it on the clean channel, play it on the distortion. Do hammer-ons with your secondary note of each string could be a hammer. You could do pull-offs. You can do a combination technique of pick, hammer, pull. Shoot, you can even slide them. Ascending and descending. Or you can do ascending and descending sliding. So dude, the options are almost limitless. So much stuff you can do with them, and I'm telling you that to try and inspire you to memorize this stuff, make sure you're comfortable with it, and then start trying the different options that you have with it. And like I said, if we end up doing another CBT lesson, I'll break these down and give you some really good bite-sized solo bits, and then you'll see, you know, it'll start to click more. They won't just seem like a mechanical scale, and that's what they are right now. Nothing wrong with that. It's our map of notes, right? Okay, and then page 8, I'm going to switch over to the clean channel for a reason. Or no, I'm sorry, page 7. It's the 7 major and 7 minor chords, so it's 14 chords in total. There was a time where you knew a good chunk of these. Every guitar player needs to know these chords, no matter what style of music you like. And they can be played in different spots up and down the neck. I'm using the open position area, which is over here. Okay, if you have a chord book, you'll recognize these. There are variations. Even in this area of, for example, a G chord could be played like this. It could be played like this. It could be played like this. This. All over the place. But I used to think, well, the book's wrong back in the day. No, chords they consist of certain notes. Major chords and scales, actually, that's how you figure out what your chords are. The root, the third, and the fifth of the scale. Actually, we did talk about that. So, but in this, I just want you to recap your chords and memorize these and make sure you can play all of them clearly. You can also, before I start, fingers can always be altered. If you can't clearly hear all the strings of the chord, remove a finger one by one until clear. Try picking each string of the chord and make sure they are all clear, then strum 4 times. These 14 chords are the most common on guitar. So, process of elimination. You know, some of these you may be able to get all the strings of it. Other ones may be difficult. When that happens, I'll show you what you can do. So, 2nd fret, D, G, and B. I use my 1st, 2nd, and 3rd finger. Now, like I just read to you off the tabs, if that feels too cramped, swap some fingers out, man. Drop the index down to the G, and the middle can come up to the D. Nothing wrong with that. Everyone's finger size is different, so experiment with it. I even do like a bar and then I curl it out sometimes. So it's not that it's wrong, but you have a format here. So strings 5 through 1. But try picking them. The notes of the chord, don't just hit all 6 of them. This one's not using the low E or string 6. And play them, make sure you can hear each one. We may run into this. Not good. We fix it, then strum it again. So once they're clear, then you strum it through. B major, 2, 4, 4, 4. From the bottom up, index, pinky, 3rd, and middle. This one usually gives people trouble. Play the last 4 strings. If it's too ridiculous, eliminate the middle and play the last 3. If that's too hard, eliminate the 3rd finger and play those 2. And if that's too hard, play that. But you need to find where is it giving you the trouble and get comfortable with it and then add it. Even if you have to wait and do it that way for a couple weeks or so. But do try to get to where you can play the full chord. Alright, C major is next. 3A, 2D, and 1B. And then I'm using 3rd, 2nd, and 1st finger for that. Keep the knuckle angles coming down. This chord has some opens in it off the G and the high E. So very important, and that's why you want to pick. Middle finger, I did that on purpose. Boom, I'm going to shift it up. I did that on purpose. Index is blocking the high E, so I'm going to, sometimes it's just a pressure shift. You don't necessarily have to relocate the position of the fingertip on the string itself. It's just you can shift it sometimes. Apply some upward pressure and that may be all you need. Strings 5 through 1 and then strum. D major, 2, 3, 2, open. Middle, 3rd, and 1st. Like I said, you can alter fingers, mess around with it. Play from the D string all the way through the E and then strum. E major, 2A, 2D, 1G with finger 2, 3, 1. Start from string 6. This is going to use all of them. And then strum. F major, this one. Just like the B major, it gives people trouble. Sometimes people get so pissed they won't even play it, or they'll just play it as a power chord. But learn them, man. Try to get these, even if it takes months. Don't give up. Bar the first fret on the E and B with your first finger. It doesn't have to be flat like this. Kind of go off on the side. You'll actually build up callus on the side of the finger if you do this enough. And then we need 2G and 3D. Now that's the fingering I'm using. You can swap those around, but definitely bar with the index. Some people, because it's too difficult, will use 2 fingers, and don't do that, because you want to be able to play full bar chords. This is a good start point to do that. And you can always use process of elimination. 4 through 1 on your strings. You may run into this. And then when you go to bar it better, it may pull these down. So then you eliminate a finger. See if you can get those. If you still can't, start with the bar and just build it. That's F major. G major is 3, 2, open, 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 3. I'm using middle, index, and third. There's several ways to play this. There's a 4-finger version, which I actually use more often, but books typically show it like this. All 6. Strum. That's it for the 7 major chords. There are sharp and flat chords, but we're just sticking with the natural A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now the 7 minors. Minors are notated with a lowercase m. If you see them in a guitar book or something, and you see an A with a small m, the m symbolizes minor. If it's a major, you usually just see an A. You don't have to write major after it. Alright, so 2D, 2G, and 1B with finger 2, 3, 1. Start on string 5. If that high E is muted, that means your index is probably touching it, and you fix it by the angle. B minor, 2, 3, 4, 4. Index, middle, pinky, third. And start on string 4. It's kind of a tough chord. The B's and F's on the majors and minors. If it's too tough, we can get rid of that. Maybe use it here. If that's too tough, start here. But make this your goal. Let's see, another thing too. I don't want to overwhelm you here, Brandon, but my third finger is muting underneath the A. If you can think that as you're playing these chords, that's going to be helpful down the road. If it's too much to think about now, don't sweat it, but you do want to be aware of that. Alright, C minor, just take that whole shape, move it a half step sharp, up to 3, 4, 5, 5. So if you can get the B, you'll get the C. Okay, D minor, 1, 3, 2, open. Starting on the D string, clear, strum. E minor, the easiest of them. 2A and 2D with first and second finger. Start on string 6. And we use that in a prior example. And then strum. F minor, bar the first fret on the last 3 strings. Remember, don't try to go just flat like that. Go off on, kind of curve it like a C a little bit. And then pinky or third finger, 3rd fret D. And it's those 4 strings. If it's too tough, which this one may be, eliminate the pinky and just go for the 3 strings that you're barring. And then work towards this. Alright, if you can get that, you'll get the G minor. Take that whole shape and move it a whole step sharp. So you're now at 3, 3, 3, 5. Alright, so there you go, Brandon the man. Guitar can be tedious, dude, and then that's no mystery to you. You know, you're not a beginner. You know a little bit already, but you just got to put the time in. The thing, it's critical really for the beginner, because if you don't take the time to get it right, it'll never be quite right. But once you get certain things down, like muting above the strings, or even just string clarity and a pick progression, usually it's not going to give you trouble anymore. It just gets easier with time. As far as this stuff goes, you're going to look back and go, man, I remember when I didn't think I'd ever be able to play an A major chord, and you'll be able to do it. You know, you'll reflect back. You know, you don't necessarily see it because other people will, but you know, you hear yourself all the time on a daily basis. So put the time in, dude, on this stuff. I put some thought into these, and these are definitely going to help you. All right, 3-part video, and I got to get into some edit uploading.